Hi. First update in absolutely months. Um, and yes, if you compare me to the image below, I have longer hair. I don't might have a beard in that one, but it's probably not as big as this. So yes, I look very different, but it's still the same old me with the same old tortured metaphors and jokes. Right, today's post is about the Xbox 360, which I've just bought. The Xbox 360 Elite, which is the controller for it. Quite a nice controller. So it's very nice in the hand. Oh, we could have a. Oh, I could do a whole post about controllers. Tempting. I've only got two here though. Actually. Controller review. Stay there. Well, we'll pretend this is a PS3 controller because practically it is, and we'll review each one individually. Start with the Wii because I've had the Wii the longest. And it's also the most different of the controllers compared to the last generation, so it's most logical to do first, I suppose. Yes, well, this is the Wiimote, and this is the nunchuck, obviously. Well, I say obviously, might never have played a Wii. The Wiimote has 1,000 billion sensors that control things, as well as an IR sensor which you can point with, as well as tilt and shake and various other controls. The nunchuck also has a couple of sensors to control. Obviously, this sort of control scheme is completely different to the way we've played games before, from basically since the SNES and the NES, and even pre those, where you had a sort of controller with buttons and a D-pad or an analog stick. But now you've got actual physical inputs mimicking real-life situations in many cases, especially in cases of sports games. Broadly, very, very good idea. It's got probably the most potential out of all the controllers. That's probably its biggest upside. Also, sits quite nicely in the hand. Button layout wouldn't sit quite nicely in the buttons, no problem there. The only slight objection is probably the C button, which feels a bit out of place, which is the one on the nunchuck. That feels lovely. That feels a bit, at least for me, because I've got big hands. But yeah, so it's fine. Only other slight objection to it is that it hasn't got enough buttons for any other game that isn't. If you don't use the motion sensors a lot and you use the buttons more, very few buttons compared to the other two controllers. Other slight objection, it's not particularly good. Well, I don't think it's going to be particularly good at certain games, which are designed with this in mind opposed to that. And also the nunchuck and the Wiimote are sold separately, and the controller comes to near enough 50 quid when you buy them both, so which is very steep. But then again, the Wiimote, the whole thing with the Wii is that it's not really the console that you're really buying for. You're buying for the control system and therefore the controls. So probably the most exciting, but actually probably the most flawed as well in a strange way. Right, let's do the PS3 next. Right, you might notice I've got a PS2 controller. Now, there's two reasons for that. A, I don't own a PS3. I'm not that fucking much of an idiot. And B, they're practically the same. The only difference with the PS3 controller I can remember is that instead of the DualShock button and start and select, it's got like one big Xbox X button in the front that's just a PS2 button. Basically, you press it to sync it, I think. I assume it's the same thing. General theory, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Which generally I prescribe to in many things, it's the case. PS2 controller, I'm not overly fussed. A lot of people love it, and a lot of people rate it as the easiest one, but a lot of people play it with two fingers like that, which is, I think, is probably the most sensible way to play it. But I can't get to grips with that. I'm always between the two. Anything else about it? It doesn't. Your hand. It's not an awful controller. You don't really get cramped playing with it. At least I don't. But your hand has to mold to the controller opposed to just sitting in your hand. It doesn't sit. Doing all these hand movements, you can't see them. There we go. It doesn't just sit in your hand. It doesn't sort of sit and you have to grip it, which is a bit annoying when you play for a long time. Anything else about it? Yeah, other objection to it because it's got the 6-axis, of course, which is apparently useless. In what I've seen, I've only played one PS3 game, MotorStorm, and it was terrible in that. Which is just because it doesn't really work with one piece. Anyway, I won't go into that. But yeah, PS2/PS3 controller, not terrible, but probably could have done a bit more with it with a PS3 to make it better. Yeah. Anyway, I probably should have thought about this before opposed to just going, I'm going to do a review of Xbox 360 Elite. No, wait, I'll do a review of controllers instead. Xbox 360 controller. Quite a nice controller, very basic looking, similar to the old Xbox. Battery pack in the back, similar to the remote one. Different to the PS3 one where there's no like plug-in, but you just plug it into the thing. You can do that with this one as well. There's like a plug and charge kit that you can get that attaches by wire to your Xbox 360, which the Wii doesn't have. But the Wii has a dock system that you can buy, but that's just Nintendo trying to be Apple, so everyone cares that. Yes, so basic setup, very similar to the old Xbox controllers, I think, and the Nintendo controller, the Nintendo GameCube controller, with 2 DualShocks in a diagonal format, and then 4 buttons set on the normal sort of 4-button standard setup, and then the big button in the middle then, which switches your console on like that and glows beautifully. Yeah, it's obviously the triggers. Couple of problems with it. Triggers are a bit deep. Like, same problem if you can see. Same problem the GameCube suffered from. The triggers are very deep on it. Everything sits quite nice in your hand, unlike the PS2 controller. It sits very nicely in your hand. Just sits there and everything plays fine. Ash, a friend of mine, was complaining you can't really roll run the buttons particularly easily, which is fair enough. It's not particularly difficult. I wouldn't say it's any actually. Now I'm actually sitting here with the controller. It's actually not particularly any more difficult than the PS2 controller, in my opinion. Any other problems with it, really? No, actually, I think probably it's got the least flaws of all the controllers. Oh, there's also this bit at the bottom where you plug stuff in. Oh, and a bit at the top where you plug stuff in. The bit at the bottom is generally designed for these nifty headsets that you get with controllers, purely for Xbox Live, because pretty much every Xbox game is an Xbox Live game as well, so it plugs in, works quite well, doesn't have any problems with it, works very nicely, very good way of doing it, opposed to having another wire trailing off towards your laptop or having some expensive Bluetooth device. Similar way to the Wiimote one, has like a thing in the bottom where you plug the nunchuck and the classic controller. So yeah, similar system, very good. PS3 doesn't have anything like that, I don't think. Not that I know, but I don't think it has any. I think it must have something that plugs into the console. Other than that, one other problem with the PS2 controller. I was going to say something I've completely forgotten. Oh yeah, the analog sticks are in the wrong place because the analog sticks are down here. There isn't one where there should be. You know what I mean? You're playing like that, and if you want to go analog sticks, your hand has to come off the natural position. The analog stick should be there. But yeah, this is almost 8 minutes long, but it's comprehensive. So broadly, I don't actually know what's my favourite. The Wii think's got to be my favourite just purely because there's so much innovation in it. Having said that, the Xbox 360 I think is an improvement in my opinion on the PS2 controller, because the PS2 controller is the PS3 controller is the PS2 controller, and I've never been a massive fan of it. I always thought it was quite weak as a controller, and it was very basic and normal, but not fantastic. Not a pleasant experience, just, yeah. But then again, does it have to be when you've got good games? Precisely. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to do a review on my Elite as well, I think. So, yes. Might run them back to back. So who knows? Anyway, thank you. See you again. Leave comments and stuff. If you think different, then leave a comment. Or even a video comment on YouTube or something. Leave comments, talk. I want people to enjoy my blog, and I want to know people who enjoy my blog. If you think I'm completely wrong, and in fact the PS2 controller is the best thing ever created since the wheel, then tell me. So, anyway, bye!